We're on Gulf Beach in Milford, Connecticut, and I'm going to give a brief explanation of a horrific event that happened during the American Revolution. The dumping of 200 smallpox-infected prisoners of war by a British ship. The prisoners were Continental soldiers who had been captured the previous summer during the Battle of New York City in the summer of 1776. The British packed the ship full of infected soldiers, and they sailed along the coastline. Now, why they chose Milford to dump off the prisoners, I'm not sure. They may have been trying to punish someone locally, but in coming to Milford, they bypassed harbors in Norwalk, in Stamford, in Bridgeport, but for whatever reason, they chose to set the soldiers on shore here in Milford. Now, the actual site is across the harbor from me, over on Fort Trumbull Beach. But because that's a private beach, the city holds its commemorations here on Gulf Beach, and they've erected an historic marker describing the incident and honoring the soldiers here on Gulf. After they were dumped on the shoreline, the soldiers began trying to get home as best they could. A number of them were treated by a local doctor, Stephen Stowe. Unfortunately, he also contracted smallpox and died as a result of his efforts. Ultimately, 46 people perished and were buried here in Milford. The 46 soldiers were buried somewhere behind me in a common grave in Milford Cemetery. We don't know the exact location of their common grave, but in 1852, the brownstone obelisk behind me was dedicated to honor them in their service. The monument was originally dedicated in 1852, and a number of plaques and markers were added to the site during the American Bicentennial. In 2009, the skull of an individual believed to be one of the 46 soldiers was reburied at the site. The skeleton had been unearthed during the construction of the railroad tracks alongside the cemetery and potentially alongside the burial site. Captain Stowe and several members of his family are also buried in Milford Cemetery, not far from the Soldiers' Monument.